Stick around.
More work on the Toyota. Let's see if we can get this whole section here completed on this now. This will have all the front sections for the floors completed from here forward. That'll be all done then. This is the tricky one because there's a lot of shapes. I got to make this in here in 3 or 4 pieces. I don't know how many pieces, but I got to build this rear section here first. So I got to make a loop to go around here that'll fit in here. That'll be welded on to the lower section here, welded on through here, welded on through here, and on top of the shifter mount. Okay. What I need to do is I need to figure out the size of metal that I'm going to make. Earlier I cut this piece here out, and when I cut this out I used a large piece and I cut it all up. So I'm going to use that as a template. Over here on the bench on the back side here, there's that piece. This is the piece that I cut off the other thing. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over, test fit this a few times, trim it up that needs to be trimmed up, and use this to get all my measurements from. This will tell me how big of a piece I need, and because when I does it, I want to have this here so that I haven't got no excess. This is one time I don't want to have no extra metal on the ends of it, because it's so hard to actually just roughly make a piece for this and then try to get this to fit in the car properly. And trying to figure out how much, because when you lay this in the car you can't see nothing. Okay, so if I had something like this to go by, I'll just take this measurement here, I'll make a piece of steel, I'll bend it to make it look like this here, and then I can actually use that to get everything properly measured up. So let's go over now and I'll get this trimmed up and fit in the car and see what it fits like. As you can see, I just laid it in place there. I got it trimmed up, fits right nice there now. That can actually be welded on there, come forward up to here. That fits on over that there, right nice. Up here is a little bit, it sits a bit high on the pan because of this here. I'm gonna have to do some maneuvering for this piece here because I gotta have this flat. And as you can see, there's a round edge on it there. But I'm not gonna worry about that right now. What I'm going to do now is take this piece of metal here, and I'm gonna use this here as my template. So this is how wide the sheet and piece of metal got to be. And I'm gonna take a measurement from here to about here somewhere. And I'm going to go over and cut out a piece of steel for that. So I use my seamstress tape to measure this up around here, and it come out to be 13¼ on this here. I took this tape then and laid it across a regular measuring tape just to make sure, because sometimes these tapes are never the same, but it is the same in this case, so that's a good tape. So I can remember that for next time. I was thinking about it because down here on the end I was looking at that and I was wondering if that was a full inch or it was a short an eighth of an inch or something on the end of it, right? Because if you look at the distance between 1 and 2 and the end here, it almost looks like it's shorter on the end, but no, it's right. So I need a 13¼ that's the exact size of that there, and now I just got to figure out the overall length, and I'll go figure that out and I'll cut a piece out. So I had to measure out 13¼ this way here on both sides, and I went over and measured it, and it's 24½ inches. So I got that marked out, get this cut out. So I'm over here now, I got the pipe label taken out, and I'm going to use this diameter here, it works pretty good. I want to put a reference mark on this here now so I can actually keep returning the metal from left to right, because I got to bend it and bend it the other side, right? So I want to have a reference line just to go by. There's something marked on that here that I can line up on both ends, because it's going to be hard to bend. What I've done is I marked the center on this here. And I'll put this in this now and try my best to rotate that and bend it. It's going to be fun. I want to make the bend from the middle, see? Oh, it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. I'm just looking at this line here, and each time I make a bend on it, I'll compare it to the one I just done from the other side, and it keeps it square for me. That way I'm putting the bends in the same location on both sides. It's going pretty good. It's not square enough. I'll take more off this side. There we go. What I'm trying to achieve is that this stays level. That's what I got done. So I'm pretty close there now. As you can see, I'm pretty close to my template. Maneuver it around a small bit. So that should be close. And I'm going to trim it up a bit on the front. Mark that now. Just wants to be just a little bit long here. So I can see stuff. There. It's going to be cut. I'm just going to cut them notches out of there now, just so that it fits down. I'll trim that up after. I had tweaked it a few times up around this section here and here, but I wanted to make sure I kept this in the middle, these two marks that I got, and the roll kept going the same way down over each side. It is a little bit long, so I got to trim it off so I can pull it down a bit more. But I'm pretty happy where that's to there now. I'm going to have to do something now for the shifter mount for that to go there, because that's up a bit high there. So I'm going to just cut a piece out of there and then just put a flat piece in there and weld it in. All right, I'm after tweaking it, trimming it, tweaking it, trimming it. The biggest thing I'm after here now is right on this bottom lip right here. If you look closely, I don't want that touching the floor, okay? Because when it touches the floor, what ends up happening, I don't know if it's resting on what I want it to rest on. I want it to rest right here, and I want it to rest in the middle right here on a drive shaft loop. So I kept trimming up. The other side was best kind. I kept trimming up this side here. I took probably, I say almost 1/4 of an inch off this side here to get it to sit properly. Because I'd done it twice, took 1/8 off it, and I took another 1/8 off it again. I wanted to sit so that it was hanging up on whatever's in there. Now the next issue I got is the shifter mount. Now the shifter mount is right here. Now that goes back to about here somewhere. The problem with it is there's the top of the shifter mount. I can actually put that in there, like that there, lay it on top of the shifter mount. This section of the floor pan, or the transmission tunnel, drive shaft tunnel, is too high along here. So I marked the 2 points here. I marked the tunnel down here because I got to find a spot back here. I know there's 2 sections right here where the plate comes out, and I think that's holding this up, because if you look, she's high here, but she's sitting nice there, right? And I think when I cut this, what's going to happen, this is going to want to fall down again. What I want to do is I'm going to put a second piece in there. I can beat this down if you want to. It's going to make a mess is what it's going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section out of here, go back smart and just cut it out like that there, and get this to fit in again. And then I'm going to weld a piece in here that'll kick up with a nice 9 on it and a 90 on it, and then I can dress the edge of it here, and I can dress the edge of it here, and I got a nice flat platform that I can lay the shifter on, okay? As you can see, there's the mount there. Here's the drive shaft loop. It is up a bit higher than this here, so I want it to drop down to fit on top of this here. So I'm going to measure, I got the mark here, I'm going to measure from here back to this point here, and then I'm going to cut a section, a strip out of here, so this will fall down over it, and it'll rest here, and then I can weld a flat piece in across here. So I turned around and measured back to a point that I had marked here, and I measured back and I found out where the point was to, and I marked it here, and I used this as my straight edge, okay? Then I turned around and I drew 2 lines back through here. I'll come up a little bit short because when I push this down, this is going to want to drop, and I'm thinking about running into some issues with running out of metal here. So I'm going to cut them a little bit short, and hopefully that I don't run out of metal. But I've already thought about problem solving it. One of the problems I got here, I just noticed too, because I measured from here to here and from here to here, that this here is off center. So I went over in the car and checked the car, and my shifter mount is off center. So it's not perfectly in the center. It's off by 1/4 of an inch to one side, to the passenger side. It's just because the big fella got to have it off center. That's why I did it that way. Yeah, that's it. That's why I did it that way. Yeah, I made a mistake. It's not centered. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out and go over and test fit it. Now, that's a fluke, okay? That's a fluke. I guesstimated at all that, and I can't believe how nice that fits. Just look. All I gotta do now is put a flat piece across there and tack weld it in place there. I'll mark my holes so I can drill them out, have them there, and then I can just weld a flat piece in there. And on the inside here, the back edge, I'll just step that up a small bit. I'll bend a piece on an angle this way here so I got something to weld there. And I haven't got to worry about grinding an inside edge. And that'll be the piece for that. That's amazing. I locked into that. It's been a good day. So here I got the piece set up. I got the tunnel back in the car. And I got the piece trimmed up that I made up. I got the ends bent up, and there's lots of excess there because I got to shape them like that. I want to have this upper front section round too, because I want to tie the transmission tunnel into the round section on this here. So I got that fit, and I trimmed it so it just fits down in there right nice. And I'm going to weld that on here. Some might think that why don't you just beat it down with a hammer, slit it, bang it down. It would have distorted all this up here. You probably could have spent a lot of time on it and just flatten out the section. But the section with this whole section is shrink. Got to be shrank right down through here, back to here. Got to be shrank. This is the quickest and fastest way that I feel I can do it, and do it tidy with basic tools, okay? So I'm just going to turn around and get this tack welded in place so I'm happy with it. Take it off, weld it all up, grind and dress it. So I got that all grind and dressed up. Nice little relief on it there now. It looks nice. The way it comes up, I grinded a flat here, and then I just roll off the edge a small bit, and then I rounded off the front here. I'll probably adjust that more than that. And of course then I rounded out the back here, so it flows nice on the back side of it. Then what I went and did is I went on the back side here, and I took some black marker and marked on it, and I went over and I mounted on the car, and I put this inside the transmission tunnel and found the holes. You could barely see the spots where I marked them. That one there is more noticeable. And so I got them marked down. I'll drill them out and oversize them because they don't have to be the perfect size for the hole. And so that way I can actually put it up and bolt it all down into place so it will hold everything flat. So I'll get them drilled out now. So there you go. I got the holes drilled in it, and I got that bolted down to the shifter plate. I went ahead then and I put a few calicos on the back side. I put one here and I put one over on the other side as well. I'm not going to mount this right yet because I got to figure out what my transition is going to be here and how I'm going to join two of these together. So for now, that's solid mounted enough that I can actually continue on to do the rest of it. So now we're up to the transmission itself, okay? My plan is here, this is going to be built in one middle section, a back section, and then a front section, okay? The middle section should be just, it's just going to be a big square piece. It's just going to roll over and go from that, and then I'll build off of that on both ends. What I got to do now is I got to get a piece of steel now, make a template, figure out how big I want it, the shape I want it, what it's going to look like back in the back end of it here before I actually go and cut some steel up. I might taper it back, I don't know yet. So I'm going to go play with that now and see what I come up with. So I played around with some ideas. And you can see here the way I got this all done up. Both of them are the same size. And I'm just going to keep it all the same right across because the way I got the floor designed. I've sat here and thought about trying to figure out lowering the back down a small bit and changing the angles of it. But I think it's going to throw everything out of whack because the shape going from over one side to the other, I want to keep it consistent going from side to side. So now that I got this figured out, I'm going to take one of these here now, measure this distance here, and measure the length of one of these here and go cut out a piece of tin to fit there. So there it is. That was a pretty easy fit. Nothing crazy about it. You see me using the pipe anvil there to shape it up. Just took my time rolling around. You look at this now and it kind of looks like it got an uphill type of slope to it, but it don't, because the distance from here and here is the same. It's just the way the transmission makes it look. Some might think that if you cut this side at an angle now that you make it fit. It will, but what it'll do, it'll widen the back side off. And it makes it very, very tangly. You can get away with so much. I have this stretched now to fit nice. And like I thought about cutting this on an angle here to lower the back down a small bit. But I think what's going to end up happening then is I'm going to run out of metal here on this end here. Okay, for this side here to work properly. For that angle to go. I don't mind having the straight tunnel like that. It gives me a fair bit of room. I got to put a scatter shield on this as well. On this transmission, so it's always good to have something there to protect it, and you know, have lots of room there to be able to install it, right? Like, I can really get carried away with this if I want to, but because I have two of these sides here that are parallel to each other, if I had to come in on an angle, I could have done on a bit of an angle, but I wanted room on the sides of the transmission to get your hands up around her, to do some mechanical issues, to be able to get ratchets in there if you need to be, or whatnot, right? The whole point of this here is to be able to take it apart. It's not like it's interfering with my legroom, okay? I got lots of legroom in this car. So that's pretty well done the way I want to. I'm going to clamp that in place there now, and make sure that I'm happy where it's sitting to, and put a couple of clecos in it. So now that I got it all clecoed in place, I'm happy with it where it's to. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this end here. I'll do the same on both ends, but I think I might just do this end for now. I'm going to take this here and strip back about an inch of it. I'll paint on the end of it here. And then I'm going to put a slight roll on this edge here, just so it's got a contour starting to head in this direction here. So there's not a sharp edge going up to meet from this panel to this panel. This will go up and it'll flow into that one there. So I'll strip this off now, and we'll go over on the bench and we'll dolly a rolled edge in that. So I'm here now and I got that stripped off on the edge. What I'm going to do, I have a top off a oxyacetylene bottle, whatever, gas bottles, what it is. It's got a nice ground edge on it. I has a couple of these kicking around. These are roll ones. They're not belong to anything other than just for a dolly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this edge in over this here, work my way along here, and roll that off there. Just put a bit of a roll edge on this. Just use the hammer. And buckle that along. You see me there then, just dolly in. I got it clamped in the vise here now. I found it better up there. That way I can rotate it around. And I just rolled it off the edge. You can look at it, you can see a little rolled edge on it. Doesn't have to be a lot, right? And what I was doing there was I was making sure that this line here was staying consistent. It wasn't going up and down. So I dolly it so that this here looked consistent all the way around here. And so now it's got a nice little rolled edge on it. As you can see, I got it back in place. Just a little change to it. Makes a lot of difference to it. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take the this off now, and I'm going to strip this end of this here so I can ready so I can actually weld this on when I get it in there. And I'm going to roll the edge from the shifter mount down. It's going to roll that a bit on both sides as well. So I'll get that off and get that all done and get it reinstalled. So I went ahead now and I got that all sectioned there, all angled back and everything, and grind it off. So that's ready to go. Now I can start getting ready to build the piece to go here. Now, sit down, okay? I will be using templates on this section here and on this section here. It is a lot easier. I'm not even going to attempt to try to do this in one piece because of the angle that is on, okay? And someone's asked me the other day about what I use for the cardboard that I was using. All this is this stuff here. This is dollar store stuff. I go and buy it. This is an old Bristol board that you use in school. I just go home, I'll buy 4 or 5 sheets of that. It's probably $3 maybe. And what I like about it, it hasn't got no creases or anything in it like a beer box or something probably would have. Or it's not corrugated like a cardboard box would be. And I like having my templates right nice and even. So, like, I'm not going to turn around and cut a strip of this off and then start cutting it and folding it and whatever. I'm going to build this in sections. I'm going to build a side piece, trim it. When I got that nice and it's taped down as nice, then I'll build the other side like that and tape that on there, and then I'll build a top section. That's the way I'll do this. And then I'll trim it all the way around there so I'm happy where it's to. Then I'll do a little bit of an overlap because I'm going to do a cutting bud along here and quite possibly along here as well. So I'm going to just overlap it a small bit, probably a 1/4 of an inch or so on either end. And so that way I got something that I can tack weld it onto everything, and then I can just do the cutting bud after. So I'm going to go ahead now and start trimming this up. All I'm going to do is start right here now. I must have a nice straight edge here and then coming up here. And then I'm going to cut like a square piece out like that, fit that on there, and I'll trim it to fit this section here, this section here, and this section here. I'm not going to worry about nothing else. So there you can see I got the template made. And one of the advantages of making them in a number of pieces that with the cardboard itself, if you like just took one piece and start cutting it, V's in it, folding it over and taping it, you don't know what way the metal is going to be really moving. That reacts the same way a piece of metal reacts. So if you can make that shape without kinking the cardboard, you know that you can actually make it without having to do any shrinking or stretching or anything like that, right? So I got that made there now. I'm going to tape it off or take it off, trim it up to fine tune it, and get it where it's to, and so that way I can transfer it over onto a piece of steel. And there you go. Got it all trimmed up, taped all together, and that is only held in place by the 2 magnets. That's it. So it fits right up along the front there nice. Right, down over the transmission tunnel or the drive shaft loop tunnel, fits nice there. So now I got a template that I can actually cut that out of a piece of steel, and it should fit perfect. What do you think? Yeah, okay. Let's transfer that onto steel now. As you can see, I just turned around, tweaked it in the pipe anvil. I just tweaked it, kept test fitting it, coming back and fitting it again, seeing what it was like. I'm pretty close to where I'm happy with it now. I could pretty well do most of it now. Where it was two there for some tweaking, but fits pretty good. So I'm going to go, I'll roll my edges on this now the same way I roll the edge on that there. I'm going to roll this one forward, I'm going to roll this one back. Anytime I make panels like this here, I like to make them so that they close up, so that they're smaller. Like if I lay at it there now, that's here, I got to stretch it to fit in place. That way you'll get a nicer fit. Because if you just try to have it so as here, you're going to be constantly pushing in. I don't want to be pushing in on this here on either side when it comes time to go spot welding. I want this here to want to pull that way. So that's why I make it so that it's actually smaller than the actual opening on the bottom. Over now, roll them edges. So after rolling the edge on this now, you can see it all the way rolled on there, and I roll this one back. This one tips back this way here. You see me using a simple old ball peen to do body work. I don't get hung up on hammers, okay? Some people love their hammers. This is my favorite, yes, okay? I use it for everything. The problem I had is it would fit in between the opening. Reason why I went with that. I've done a lot of body work with this stuff, okay? I can honestly say I've done body work with them as well, okay? It's not, the hammer don't make you better, okay? That don't make you a better bodyman. If you can use the likes of this here and do good body work, you're a good bodyman, okay? Even this here. It's all about the fellas polishes their ends and all that type of stuff. I have never touched the end of this hammer. You can see the nicks and marks and everything in it. I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to metal finishing, because I'm a bodyman and I'm not looking to metal finish a car because it's just, I just don't justify it for what the work I do. I repair rusty cars. I'm just repairing panels, making simple little panels. I get by with what I got around. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to start tack welding this onto this panel here. I'm going to get this permanently part of this panel here, finish off all this section here, and then I'm going to come up and work on this section here. Not going to worry about that right now. It looks pretty good. But I want to get this all welded on down here and get all this fit properly. Do the cutting up down through here and get that all welded on, grind, dressed, finished. So that is all one panel. So I got the piece all tack welded in place, and I got it lined up here, and it worked out best kind there, so I got it welded on there, and then I just overlapped it down through here and tack welded it on. The bottom's not quite finished on both sides. You can see the same thing over here. There's a gap down there, don't mind that. What I'm going to do here now is do the cutting butt, but I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. I want this to curve together, so I will dolly them as I'm going. I don't want to go cutting this clear down here because this will move all this and change everything down here. I want to keep this panel right where it's two compared to this one. I'm going to make two of them work together from there. And I'll join these in through here doing the cutting butt. So let's get started. So I got to put back in place here, and I made sure all these lined up again. So she went all back in place. And she looked pretty decent up along here. She's a bit high down here, nothing serious. But I'm pleased with how all this went together here. What I'm going to do here now is the problem you're going to run into is you think, okay, let's go on weld this one on, let's go on weld it, come back and weld it all up at once. The problem you're going to have is, this is sheet metal, all this is going to want to move when you weld it, okay? I'm going to finish this off completely, weld it up, dress it so it's done. I haven't got to touch it no more, and I haven't got to worry about distortion. So if there's any issues that I'm going to run into now when I weld this up, I'm going to address it now before I move on to this one here. And then I'll do the same thing with this one here and so on, okay? So I'm going to take this off now, go over, get this all welded up, get it all ground up, and get it all welded up on the inside and dressed, so that way I can actually have this section finished. And there you have it. I welded it all up, I grinded it up, re-welded it again, grinded it up, and I welded it on the inside. I'll give that a roughen up there, just knock the head off it, but I left it all the meat there to give it strength on the inside. And then I come out and dress it again. That's it. I went ahead then trimmed off the bottom down here. It was a bit long on this section here, so I trimmed it off so it went nice and flat. So I got that done now. This piece is finished. Now I can install this here and work on the next one. So that fits back in there, best kind. Overlaps on the front one now, really nice. So now I got to repeat the whole process again on this section here. Tack weld it in place, take it off, cut and butt on it, grind it and dress it, and then test fit it. And then I have all that section there done. Then we can move on to that. So I'm going to go ahead now and bang through that and get that done. That's all welded up. Another one done. You saw me there, I turned around and I just overlapped it, tacked it. Then I turned around, done the cutting board on it, tacked it. Then I went and tested it in the car to make sure everything never moved. And the heater turned on. And then I took it out and I brought it over here on the bench and I welded all the outside up. And then I turned around and then I grinded it, done some touch-ups on it, and then grinded it again. Then I flipped it over and then I welded the inside. Okay? Now, someone might think, well, Tony, why didn't you just weld it all at one time? What I found in the past is that when I welded the outside and went in and welded the inside, I ran into troubles with trying to get this here to look good, okay? So I finish the outside first, I have it done. Then I go inside and I weld the inside of it. And then when I come out here, it seems to come off nicer. When I'm welding the outside of it and then I weld the inside of it, I don't know what it does. It really distorts the metal really bad because I don't get a chance to flatten it out. And I've run into a lot of little low spots and stuff like that. So I back weld it, I suppose you want to call it, when everything is done on the outside. And I comes in here and I welds it. Then I actually got to come out here and then just clean it up. But it cleans up pretty easy. And I just welds it. Someone might say, well, Tony, why don't you just hammer and dolly all this stuff, okay? And then, you know, forge it all together. MIG welding is not something that you forge. It's not an old style welding. It's not a soft weld like used with oxyacetylene or TIG, okay? MIG welding don't like to be disturbed. So, like, if you start hammering it, it's a hard weld. It's going to crack, okay? I like to finish my MIG welding off. I don't like to hammer it. I don't like to do any hammer and dolly work or anything to it. I just grinds it off and it's done. I concentrate on the fitment. I concentrate on the fitment out here so that I haven't got to worry about hammer and dolly and anything like that. And if there's a low spot in it, I don't hammer and dolly it. I'll weld it again. Because I've seen it in the past when you're MIG welding and then you hammer a bunch of metal and stuff like that, you'll find you'll get these hairline cracks in it. Because the MIG welding is so hard, it will crack, okay? Anyway, that's all that done. I'm gonna go over now and test fit that, make sure it's still good. Fits in there but like a glove. It's coming together nice. Now I gotta prep the front side of this here now so I can move on to the next piece. I'm going to grind off the end of this here and I'm gonna roll that lip upwards so it can actually take the angle coming down. So I got that fit back in there. All that there is all ready to go there now. It's a nice little roll and everything else. See the little rolled edge on it? So now I'm back to making templates. So I'm going to start over here now and just start cutting pieces of cardboard out and piece that together as I'm going along and make a template for the actual bell housing. Took a bit of playing around. I went and added to anywhere where I needed, like if I wasn't in the right position, I just used tape to tighten it up. And I had it in and out a few times now, test fitting it, trimming it, adding stuff to it. And I'm pleased with that. So now that I got the template made, now let's go cut that out of steel. I'm sat here now and needs to find a piece of metal that I can cut this out of. And I had a piece I've been cutting pieces out of now for a while. The rest of the transmission tunnel. So I goes over here and I said, well, it'll fit this anywhere. And then I started looking at it going. Today's program is brought to you by the letter F. Gotta be a 70s kid. So as you can see, I've got the template laid out here now, nice and flat. Got to lay it on a piece of steel. I'm going to trim it up, mark it out, and cut it out. But there's something to be said, like, you know, there is times that templates are a must, right? And these transmissions, tunnels, the bell housing section, it is a must. It's not something you're ever going to try to do. I've tried it in the past, and I've never been successful. This has always been my go-to every time I had to do something like this. Simpler shapes, I just go rough, and I don't bother with templates, but yeah. I broke down, and I used the template. That's not half bad. A few more tweaks here and there and I should have that. There's a trick to rolling them. I'm going to show you here now. Anytime you roll anything like this here, your inside radius is going to be smaller than your outside radius. So when you start bending it in the pipe band bolt, you start from this corner here and you pick a spot and you start rolling it. Now when you move up, you only move up a small bit here, but you move up a lot here. Another small bit here and a lot here. So you're fanning it out. What ends up happening then is as you work your way around the panel, you'll be coming around here, you'll be over here somewhere, you'll be over here. Then you got to flip around and come back this way and do the same thing again, coming around. Your top section, like you don't just line these off this way here and just bend them around here. It's very hard because it doesn't get that flow going right. Your outside one will be a little bit off from that. So when you put it in the machine, you put it in a little bit crooked to come across this way here. So when you look at this here, this is what you're actually doing. You're actually fanning it out. There's one there, and then you'll have another one there like that, and you have another one there like that, fanning out like this here, so that your distance down here on this bottom end, that's not a very good simulation of that. That should be like that. This distance down here is smaller than this distance up here, right? Like when you look at this here now, you can see this is a small radius. And turn this around. This is a big radius, okay? Because of how I put it in on an angle going through like that there. That kept this side here bigger. And then when I want to make this smaller, I just kept them tight here, but I moved these across this way here when I was doing it. So that way I didn't always be putting it in the same area to get the bend around her. But anyway, that's that. Some fine tuning got to be done on that there, and I got to roll back this lip here edge. Gonna roll that off there. Then I can start fitting this in place in there, so I'm happy with it. And I'm going to try to get it so it's tight in the car. And I'm going to turn around and start tacking this all on. So I'm going to play with this a bit more and get it fitting better. And then I'm going to put a roll on this. That's it. So I got it over here on the bench again now. I got it all set up. I'm going to do the cut and butt down through here. As you can see, the nice transition now comes down, just flows off into the other one. There's not a sharp edge or anything there. I don't put much of a roll in them, right? Like back here you can see, it's a very slight roller. Just enough to, so it's just not a abrupt corner in there, right? Every time I go like this, that bugger there kicks in. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead now, get this cut, and get that all cut and butt, and get it welded up. And I got all that grinded off, welded on the outside, grinded it, then I touched it up, grinded it again, then I went and welded it on the inside. And then I grinded that up, just knocked the head off it and flattened it out a bit. And then I come back out here and I grind that all off where it came through, the heat. Then I went and trimmed off the sides here, round out my little corners. So it all fit right nice. Got that all trimmed up now. So this is ready to pretty well install. I'm going to do one last fit on it now. And then I got to sit down, start sizing up, put plug welds and everything in it all the way around. So let's put this in one last time. So I'm pleased with the fit. All the cleat went back in place again. So she's all back into her spot, and it's a nice tight fit up around the corner up here. She got to be drawn in a small bit here. I'm probably going to do that when it comes time to do the plug welds. But that's pretty well all got to be done with this now. What I'll end up doing now is I'll take this out, clean it all up, and I'll put all my plug welds in along the bottom side here, up along here, and down the other side and around the back there. And I'll have them plug welds here, so when I put it back in again, I'll just... anywhere that I need to tighten it up, I'll just drill through the plug weld itself into the metal and put a sheet metal screw in it and draw iron on it. So, because you can't, there's nowhere to put vice grips or nothing on any of it, and a cleat is not going to pull it in enough. But that's pretty well it now. I'm happy with that. So, next job is now to get that ready to weld in. So I got all the plug weld holes all put in it, all the way around, and all down this side here as well. That's done. Everything's cleaned up, ready to go. Let's put this in. What you see me doing there now is I'm putting just a regular sheet metal fastener, okay? I'm putting that through the spot weld holes, or the plug weld holes, to draw it in tighter. And some spots I took the cleat out and I put the screw in that because it was a bit loose and whatnot. And I just went around checking for fitment. And anywhere that I needed it to be adjusted, it tightened up. That's all I did, is I put a screw through there so that when I get stuff welded around it, I'll take the screw out and I can just weld it up. That way I had not worried about putting no more holes in anything, right? So now that I got it all in there and I'm happy where it's 2, up here also, I went and put 3 plug welds. I bolted that down solid, so that'll be welded solid to the mount. What I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to start going around and tack welding like I always do, getting it all fitting where I'm happy with it. And once it's all tack welded in place, then just go around and start welding up plug welds. As you can see, I got it all tack welded in place. All I do here is I go in and I just put a little tack on the plug weld hole. And I work my way around it. And I don't weld up the whole plug weld right away because I want to tighten it up. I do so much of it, then I tack weld it on, then I go back and I hammer it again just to tighten up the panels. I do this all the way around. If I run into an issue along the way, it's a lot easier to break off them welds than it is to try and let go a full spot weld. But now that I got it fully tacked in place, that's where her home is, all the way around there. I'm going to go ahead now and get this welded in. I'm here now and contemplate what I'm going to do. I got this side here all welded up. I'm going to go grind all this off now and just take a break from welding, and I'll get the grinding done, because by the time I get to this grind I'll be sick of grinding and go back to welding again. You can sit down and weld all this in if you want to, but I'm going to break this up because there's a lot of spot welds, so I'm going to go ahead now and get these grind up. Well now, got that all completed. She finally has floors. What you see me there doing, I turned around and I was grinding that off with a 24 grit and a air grinder. Then the little spots where I couldn't, like inside corner edges, in here and here and then in here and back in this corner here, I was using the grinding stone to grind the head off the welds. I likes to have all my spot welds grind down. And for you racing guys, I'm grinding off over half of the plug weld. That's removing weight. Bonus! Anyway, but she's all in there. Her shifter mount. She got everything finished from here forward now. That's done. All I gotta do now is sand this, seam seal it, paint it. That's it. All gotta be done with that. See how it's all been overlapped, plug welded all the way around. Always looks tidier when it's all ground down too. Looks a lot tidier. Well now, so I got the floors, the transmission tunnel, drive shaft, tube, all that done. Seat drops are done, firewall is done. All that is done back to here, okay? Got everything completed. Next thing for me now to get started on the back side is going to be them wheel tubs, okay? That'll be the next video that I has on this car. I'll be working on doing the wheel tubs in the back of this. That's the first piece got to be done, so I can get figured out how everything's going to go. I do them a lot different than what I see a lot of people doing them, okay? I'm not going to get into it right now. I have a couple of interesting ideas of how I does my wheel tubs, and just I like to try and make them look like a factory wheel well in the car. I don't like big old 45-gallon drums in the back of my car. So, well, that's it for this one. Crusty now has floors, firewall, transmission tunnel, all that is in her. So, anyway, I'm going to leave this one here. I hope the tips are good, and until next time.